Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, one of my followers actually is someone who mentioned that you were a big Cavs fan.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
I think
thanks for coming on.
that was my friend Jordan, I think.
Mhm.
And we text about basketball like every day,
Yeah,
specifically the Cavs.
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Um, well, cool. So before we talk music, or before we talk basketball, I like to talk a little music first. And one thing I like to
Mhm.
ask people is, what are you listening to right now?
Man, right now, it's a good question. Um, the new Kendrick Lamar record for sure. Been listening to that a
Yep.
lot. That kind of blew me away, man.
Yeah. I'm very curious how some of those songs are going to be performed live.
hmm Yeah, I mean, the thing that struck me about it so much was that it felt like a piece of art and
Mhm.
not a music album. You
Well,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
and you would think he would be kind of pressured to create something a little more commercial.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of those themes and like the styles or whatever, and his voice as like an artist has been there since the beginning.
Mhm.
But he kind of leaned into it, the more kind of creative artistic side,
Yeah,
and more he leaned way more into like substance over style,
yeah,
which like in today's day and age, like for me, really like kind of blew me away.
for sure.
Um, so yeah, I've been listening to that and trying to think of what else has been popping up a lot.
Mhm.
I've been listening to Sharon Van Etten a lot.
I'm supposed to be seeing her in a couple weeks.
Oh, cool.
It's a really cool tour with her and Julian Baker and Angels.
Yeah, all three are like so talented.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, you know how it is. You're like Spotify is just kind of like this like grab bag all the time.
Yeah, totally.
And I've been working on my own like musicianship and kind of my
Mhm.
own like solo piano stuff. So a lot of that is like I've been listening to a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's really what I've been listening to. But I'm sure nobody listening to this pod is going to care
Oh, for
about all
sure.
that stuff.
Everyone's working on their own stuff. Like I
Mhm.
have a lot of people on and who are part of bands, but everyone's kind of always working on something.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, it is an honor to have on someone who is a member of the Indie Basketball Hall of Fame.
Indie Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, my morning jacket, Alonzo Mourning. I was
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
that
yeah,
might be. I think that might be when you kind of
yeah.
came
That's
on to
when.
me.
Yeah, that was good. I actually showed the guys in the band when I saw that. They were all cracking up.
Is anyone else in the band a basketball fan?
They're all kind of like light
Yeah,
basketball fans. Like if the playoffs are happening or like March Madness, they'll
yeah,
they'll like watch games with me. But none of them are like I am.
for sure.
Like I'm knee deep in it like daily.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely, definitely.
But I
Um,
was talking to Tim from Strand of Oaks a
mhm.
couple nights ago, and he's become good friends with Kurt Goldsberry, and so I'm gonna try to meet him at some point and kind of
Yeah,
pick his brain. I DM sometimes with like KOC and some of those guys. So been,
nice.
and he also is a musician as well. He like plays guitar and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's all kind of
the NBA Twitter and the music Twitter often intertwines.
it does. Yeah. Well, have you ever heard that saying like that all musicians want to be comedians and all comedians want to be musicians or
Totally.
whatever?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like there's something there too with like NBA basketball.
yeah. For sure, for sure.
hmm
How has it been getting back in the groove of touring and stuff?
Man, it's been really good. Um, most of it has been like life affirming,
Yeah,
coming out
yeah.
of the pandemic. And also, we've been together for a long time.
Mhm.
And so anytime you do anything for a long time, I think there's always that tendency to like take it for granted,
Yeah,
and it becomes kind of like, you know, not less exciting, but once you've played a lot of big shows and you've kind of realized a lot of your dreams and made great records and made bad records and had, all that stuff, it all starts to kind of like, you know, just feel like life. But
Yeah,
coming out of the pandemic, I think we were all just like, it reaffirmed why we love doing it. And I feel like we've come back kind of bigger and better in a lot of ways too, which has
sure.
been really cool. The COVID of it all has definitely been a challenge at times.
I'm sure.
We've all gotten it now. We all got it on tour.
I'm
So
I'm freshly 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did you have it for a long time or?
I'm trying my hardest right now to suppress my cough a little bit, but
Okay.
but
Yeah.
it's been, yeah, it's lingering. I avoided it for a long time. This is my first time having it. It's crazy.
Yeah. I still know people that haven't had it, like including like my brother and his whole family.
Yeah,
And they have kids, so who knows?
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, but we got through it,
Yeah,
and it's been good. I think we all feel, it's like demystified once you get it,
I know, right?
not saying that it can't be, really serious for some
course.
people. I'm not trying to downplay it or whatever, but it's nice to get it and get over it, knowing
Right.
that you know what I mean? You can like deal with it and move on.
Definitely.
Yep.
Has it kind of you said it was life affirming, has it kind of inspired you to write? Are you guys writing new stuff? I know you're writing your own personal stuff, but as a band, are you writing new stuff?
Yeah, we're kind of fired up as ever at this
Yeah.
point as a band. We still feel like we have a lot to give and a lot to say, musically, and we still feel like young and like we have a lot of energy.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're just gonna keep grinding away, touring and making records, and but we've learned life balance now. You know what I
Sure.
mean? We do things smarter. We treat it like a marathon instead
Yep.
of like a sprint. We used to treat everything like a sprint when we were younger,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and then we would like inevitably hit a wall, mentally, physically,
Mhm.
psychically, and then we'd have like forced downtime.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now, so now we're trying to avoid the forced downtime and like actually choose it.
Definitely. I mean, you could think of it as like it is a job, and people get burned out with their job. So like you do have to really pace yourself and take the time.
Totally. Well, I always tell people like, when you've been on vacation for a week
Hmm.
and like on day 6 or 7, you're like, all right, I'm beat, I want to like, I can't wait to get home.
Right.
Or like, that's kind of what touring is,
Yeah.
but it's usually a lot longer because you have that like excitement of being on vacation and you're kind of eating like shit and you're just like trying to have fun or whatever. You're like, oh, we got to go see this thing. We got to go see that thing. And, it's kind of like exhausting usually.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how tour is,
And you just can't wait to sleep in your own bed.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. But as I said earlier, so you are a Cavs fan.
Yes. Yeah. I was born and raised in Cleveland.
Born and raised in Cleveland. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're in LA now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you caught, while you've been in LA, have you caught Lakers games or anything out there?
Oh yeah. Mostly Clippers games because
Mhm.
tickets are cheaper
Yeah.
and they're easier to come by.
Sure.
And also like coming from Cleveland, I'm an underdog guy. Like rooting for the Lakers is just like sacrilege,
But LeBron.
Yeah, but it was tough because like he left us twice now, so it's like it's just impossible for me to root for the Lakers.
Sure.
I just can't do it. But like I would love to see him win another chip. And then when he did win in the bubble or whatever, I was like, I was happy for him.
Yeah.
And there's all these kind of like tea leaves now that he might be coming back to Cleveland soon too.
Play with Bronny.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like, if you're following the Cavs really closely and you're following the situation with LeBron closely and you kind of follow Clutch, there's a lot of like tea leaves that are starting to drop where you're like, oh man, like a year ago, I would have said, no way,
right,
this is never going to happen. And now I'm like, man, it's almost like a coin flip.
I just want to know how, because the Cavs are good.
Yeah.
but Mobley and Garland and Sexton, who was out all year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jared Allen,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have a lot of like young talent, like
Sure.
Markkanen's young,
Mm-hmm.
Agbaji, Okoro, like a
Yeah.
lot of those guys, like you don't know what they're going to turn into. Um, they could get better, and they have like they're role players, like the really kind of end of the bench role players are like
Mm-hmm.
kind of solid, like Dean Wade and Lamar Stevens,
Yeah.
guys like that. So yeah, they're just kind of one of those teams where if you just like set it and forget it, and just water it and get sunlight, like they're going to be really good.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Garland, so fun to watch, and like Mobley for a rookie is just like insane.
Yeah. I couldn't believe how mentally ready Mobley was to play in the NBA. Like
His defense,
he's still raw, but he almost never makes a mental mistake,
right.
which is just like mind boggling for any like 19-year-old, let alone a big,
Definitely.
Yeah.
So where do you, as a you grew up a Cavs fan, where do Cavs fans in general, I guess, stand on like how they feel about LeBron now? Is it most people feel kind of they'll always love him or whatever? Or?
It's kind of split, probably in favor of LeBron though.
Mm-hmm.
I think most Cavs fans are LeBron fans, and most of them still just like are grateful that he brought a championship to Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I was born in 1974, and up until that point, none of the major sports teams in Cleveland had ever won a championship in anything. And not only that, but like we had all these losses that were like, like historical losses, and they were named, like the fumble and the drive and the shot.
Trust me, I'm a Cubs fan. I get it.
Yeah. And so like, I think most Cleveland fans are like just grateful that like he was on the Cavs and that he got him a chip. You know what I mean? But
and to beat someone from Ohio, like awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I have like mixed feelings on LeBron just because it's kind of a love-hate with me, because the initial time that he left, still like I can never get over how he Boston series that year, because it really, like, to me, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, but just having watched him play since he was in high school,
Right.
I had never seen him play like that, constantly deferring, just giving the ball to Delonte West. It's like things that LeBron just doesn't do.
Yeah.
So that was like the beginning of me just being like, I don't know, man. And then he goes on national television, breaks up with his hometown girlfriend. You know what I mean? That was just like so brutal.
Not only that, but he like just like led on every other city too.
Yeah. And they got paid like $4 million for that ESPN special, and they couched it like, oh, we gave all the money to a charity. But they only gave like $1 million to the charity, and they kept the other like 2.5. So it's like, you can't blame them, but also it's like, if you're from Cleveland and like you wait your whole life to get a player like that, and he's from your town, and then he goes on national television and breaks up with you, it was just so brutal.
It's bad.
Yeah. And so then he comes back, and then most of that time when he came back was just like constant drama. When he's on your team, it's just all about him. So when it succeeds, it's because of LeBron, and when it doesn't succeed, it's because of everybody else.
Yeah.
So he often leaves like just like a mess when he leaves. You know what I mean? So He did that to us twice, and he did it to Miami, and now he's doing it to the Lakers. Because he clearly on the Westbrook trade. You know what I mean? And now he's like for some reason he's not signing a long-term deal with the Lakers.
And now there's talk about him trying to get Kyrie.
Yeah, which is just absurd because, Kyrie's Kyrie and LeBron is LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what their relationship is like.
Well, they even in their time in Cleveland together towards the end, they kind of stopped working well together.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because Kyrie's like, can't even begin to explain what like I don't know what's going on in his head ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had his best time in Cleveland, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's when Kyrie was a basketball player above
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now
exactly.
he's a sideshow, and he's got all his other kind of gimmicks going on.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
tough
just
because
like,
he's so talented.
yeah, for me, like I'm a like a we guy, you know what I mean? I'm not a me
Yeah.
person. Like some guys love, you know, the guys that just like dominate the ball and score a ton of points. Like I'm a Spurs guy. Like
Mhm.
I love the Bucks when they won. I really appreciate Golden State, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So like that's the kind of team we're building now in Cleveland.
Yeah.
We're building like this high character, like selfless team.
Mhm.
And JB has done a good job like getting them to like buy in on defense and share the ball and stuff. So um yeah, it's hard to think. It's hard to like imagine having to root for like LeBron again, if you
No.
you know what I mean. But like at the same time, I'd be kind of stoked, you know, because like if he could potentially like get into the finals as like a 39 or 40-year-old player and be competitive, however that would look, that would be pretty epic.
Absolutely. I mean,
You know what I mean?
he's
It'd be
already
like
solidified his
Tom Brady.
legacy. Exactly. It was Tom Brady, and he's like, I'm already the greatest. Like, I'm just gonna make
Yeah,
sure no one else can ever come close.
yeah, yeah. So that would be epic.
Yeah.
And like I love LeBron. Like I love like the stuff he does off the court, and you know every time I like hear
Yeah.
an interview with him and stuff, like I got nothing but love for him. So if he came back, like um, it would be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely, once he did the decision, he instantly became the villain, and I could
Same,
not stand him.
same,
But
yeah,
I've come around to him since.
same.
Once he won with Cleveland, even hit, the stuff off the court is what really kind of brought me in. And he was, as an actor, he's even kind of funny. In
Yeah,
Trainwreck, he was
totally.
pretty good. Like,
Yeah,
but he's become a likable person again. I like what he does with Uninterrupted.
yeah. I
That
love that
stuff's very
show.
cool. Yeah. So yeah, I've
And
definitely come around to him.
he's like producing movies now or whatever, that new movie with Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
Didn't he produce that?
that was good. Yeah, he did produce it.
Yeah, it
I
was
enjoyed
really
that.
good. Yeah, it was tough. Like when the Spurs played the Heat in the finals.
Mhm.
Like that was when I became like a hardcore Spurs fan. I was rooting so hard
Oh
against the
yeah.
Spurs, and you know what I mean. And like I almost cried when they beat them because it was like team versus like these like 2.5 stars or whatever. Like, oh, we're gonna win 7 championships or whatever, and then like Dallas beat them in the same way with like just basically like team.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. The
I'm always
Spurs were the
gonna
embodiment of team basketball.
yeah. So I'm always gonna lean towards like that kind of like basketball team.
Yeah.
Versus like the 3-ring circus of guys like Harden and Durant and LeBron
Sure.
always moving around. It's like, forget that, man.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what is going to happen with Brooklyn, and I've seen so many ridiculous like 5-team trades and things like that, and like
Yeah,
all the speculations like starting to drive me crazy. I'm just like, just let me know when it happens.
totally. Yeah, that's how I feel about the big players movement
I
every
know,
year now.
but
Yeah, that's why I love like Giannis and guys like that. It's like they could have easily bolted. Yeah, they're going to make more money if they're playing in a big city. Um, and I get it. Like I left Cleveland, to move to LA because I wanted to like,
sure.
have more opportunities. So it's like I understand it, but it's just like it's so cool when guys just stay.
Yeah.
And they push through like the hard times and resilience and like build a team and build a culture and then win. That's like
Moby.
the ultimate way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Cool. So on the subject of team basketball, how do you feel going into next season with the Cavs? Like, do you think they have the pieces?
My gut feeling says that like they might actually take a step back. Just because the East has gotten so much better and probably will get better with maybe Mitchell going to the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
And DeJounte Murray going to the Hawks. Like Charlotte's probably going to be not as good as I thought they were going to be now that Bridges has is going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Such a bummer.
Wild.
Yeah, just I can't believe it. But yeah, like I think the league figured the Cavs out last year.
As a Bulls fan, I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, like the league just like figured us out. They figured out how to just get open looks against
Mhm.
our like three big defense. We basically just gave up corner threes. And so
Mhm.
like teams would just take tons of them against us. Um, and they kind of figured out how to deal with like our offense by just taking away lobs,
Yeah.
because like DG spent the first half of the season just like basically being like the ultimate like lob thrower.
Mhm.
He was like sleight of hand, and it was like the best stretch I've ever seen any point guard have in terms of just throwing lobs, like even better than Chris Paul.
Yeah.
It was insane. And then they just kind of figured that out, and they kind of try to make like him beat the team by himself, which is just that's not really his game. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so I think they're going to struggle this year, regardless if Sexton's around or not, because
Yeah.
Sexton's kind of like a net negative because
Yeah.
he pounds the ball too much, and when he does need to make a decision, it's too slow. He doesn't think fast enough. So if he does make a good read, it's often too late.
He puts up
Um,
a lot of volume. Like he takes a
yeah,
lot of shots.
yeah, and he really is bad on defense,
Mhm.
especially off ball. He's just kind of like the same thing. He just kind of doesn't make reads quick enough. And he's often like kind of running like with a chicken with his head's cut off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So like people think that like, oh, Sexton's going to bring the offense that we needed. And maybe, but I think it'll be like a bit of like, there will be things that they were really good at as a team that they won't be as good at if Sexton's getting 30 minutes a game.
Definitely. Like if Sexton is not hurt all season, is Garland as good as he was last year?
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
don't
think so
think so.
either.
Yeah, and that was the thing about Garland. Like Garland is an unselfish player, and so for his first 2 years on the Cavs, he deferred to Sexton. He was just like, "All right, man, do your thing."
Yeah.
Um, and so we were kind of lucky that he went down last year, honestly.
Right.
Um,
Became an all-star because of
yeah, for sure.
it.
Yeah, and he has room to grow too. Like he's
Definitely.
going to get better for sure. Because the thing with him is just like taking more volume from three.
Yeah.
He's just got to start jacking like 9, 10 a game because he's such a good shooter and he can shoot it every which way. And that will just like create so much more space.
Mm-hmm.
But last year you couldn't really do that because they were just keyed in on him because there wasn't a lot of 3-point shooting on the Cavs.
Exactly. Yeah. I think with
So
the East, I think whoever it is, you got to look at like the Bucks, for example, and be like, who do we have that can stop Giannis?
yeah,
Most teams will say nobody,
yeah,
but Mobley, I guess, is the guy who's going to try and guard him, right?
yeah. It'll probably be committee
Yeah.
because you know what I mean. Like nobody can really stop Giannis, but I
Yeah.
think like Mobley's long enough to definitely bother him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Bulls
Yeah,
had nothing,
yeah.
absolutely nothing to stop Giannis. So
Well,
like,
Patrick Williams could have at
yeah,
least could have guarded him.
potentially, but like you go from DeRozan to Vooch, and it's just like there's no in between.
Yeah, the defense was rough for Chicago last year.
Yeah, but Boston was able to do it,
Yeah,
but that's also by committee. Like
yeah, and Tatum, is definitely big enough and long
yeah,
enough to kind of guard him one-on-one at times.
definitely.
And then they had like Robert Williams and guys like that,
Mhm.
and Grant Williams was amazing.
Yeah,
Who would have thought?
but I think I think Mobley, I mean, for a first year, like once he gets, he'll get more comfortable, he'll get stronger.
Hmm.
And I think he could be a good kind of opposition to Giannis.
Yeah, and I mean the thing about Mobley is if he can kind of like unlock himself on the offensive side of the ball,
Yes, absolutely.
like the defense really doesn't need to get much better.
Yeah.
If he becomes like a guy you can run the offense through, because that's kind of the future of the NBA. It's not even like Curry and pace and space anymore. It's like bigs that can like be a
Jokic.
triple threat. Yeah, Jokic, Embiid, bigs that can switch on defense. So he could potentially be a Jokic type player
Yeah.
who can switch on defense,
If you're a
which
big
is
who can take
insane.
the ball at the top of the key and kind of run the offense,
Yeah.
you're in good shape.
I mean, I think it's possible with him. He definitely
Yeah.
has like the brain for it.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll just see like if he can unlock it.
I mean, that is, you're right. That is the future, because you got guys like next year, you got Victor Wembanyama or whatever his
Yeah.
name is. He's
Yeah.
7'2" with handles.
Yeah.
Insane.
And Chet too. Like
Yeah.
Chet is so weird. Like I can't like I was obsessed with the draft and I was like rating everybody and like
Yeah.
I just couldn't like I couldn't get past his body, like and seeing like tiny people just push him around. It's just so hard to get fully on board for a guy like that. But like the things he does do well is it's insane. The way he
Absolutely.
dribbles and shoots off the dribble and like block shots, even when he's getting pushed around, he's still just so lanky. He can just like still get his hand on the ball.
Did you watch Summer League?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy because with Chet, it was like his first game, you're like, oh man, Chet's insane. And then the second game, they shut him down.
Yeah.
So it's really still hard to tell. And I mean, we'll see what happens. But he certainly needs to bulk up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw that in the Cavs last year. Like anytime we played against a big center, Jared Allen and Mobley just got destroyed.
Embiid just bullies people around. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had nobody. We didn't even have like a backup that weighed more than them. So yeah, so much of it is like matchups and luck in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And staying healthy.
Yep.
Because that definitely was Bulls kryptonite too.
Yeah, I believe in Zach LaVine. Like I feel like he's gotten so much better, and like he can play defense. Like he did it in the Olympics a couple years ago.
Right.
So I mean, the Bulls could definitely put it together. Patrick Williams is healthy. Who'd you guys draft this year?
Oh God, I'm blanking on his name because I wanted to say it was Jalen Duren, but that's who I wanted, and that's not who we took. What
pick did you guys have?
We had 18. Dalen Terry.
Oh, Dalen Terry. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna like him. I
think so.
He's like a really smart, like high energy, long role player.
Yeah, he impressed a little bit during summer league. I think he'll take some time
for sure.
But it is a nice pick.
Yeah,
I definitely wanted Jalen Duren.
I was hoping the Cavs pick Dalen Terry. I mean, not on draft day or whatever when like the guys were on the board, but like I was kind of hoping maybe we'd trade down for him. Yeah. So
we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the season to come back. I feel like it's always the finals end. And you're like, how long we got until the season starts again?
I know, man. This is like the dog days.
And I'm a baseball fan too, but still, it's can't wait for basketball to come back.
Yeah, me too.
Do you play basketball?
I did like a lot up until my mid 30s, and then like my body just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably could have kept playing if I would have just played like in hardwood in gyms, but that wasn't really an option for me. Yeah.
I try to when I can, but a lot of people I talk to, they're like, it ranges. Some don't play at all. Some are like, I play every Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I played like almost every day.
Yeah. From
like the age of like 16 to like 34, probably like 4 or 5 times a week.
Right.
So put some miles on my body for sure.
Definitely. I mean, on top of touring and all the stuff that wears you down too.
Yeah, hard drugs and rock and roll.
Cool, man. So another thing I like to do is I mentioned when I shot you an email is do a little name association game. It's called Musician Matchup. So since you're a Cavs fan, we picked a bunch of Cavs players, and we're going to determine. We'll go back and forth. I wrote down some too. What do these players sound like? What band do they sound like? You could describe them in any way possible.
Can it be any kind of music?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
but yeah, we'll just kind of trade back and forth and kind of compare answers. It's always fun coming up with the justification for why you picked them.
All right, cool.
But we'll start with the first one, Evan Mobley, and I'll let you go first.
Evan Mobley. He's like, God, he's like somebody's like some great band's like first record. He's like he's like early Radiohead. You know,
Sure.
like he's like Radiohead the Bends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all the talent is there, like all that, like just all the songs were amazing, but they hadn't quite put it all together and found their voice yet.
Sure.
Or like early Beatles, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like Nirvana, Bleach.
Yeah, Nirvana, Bleach. That would be cool.
Definitely.
Or like the Bee Gees before they went disco.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, he started off strong, and you don't know where he'll go, but I feel like he'll go up.
Yeah, for sure.
I went kind of like, I like to play off of like their play style and like compare to like a band.
Yep.
So Evans, he's long and he's agile. I feel like he is like a post-rock song. So you know, he goes on for forever, but he doesn't break down. I feel like he's like an explosions in the sky. Like
I could see that.
He's the long jam, you know?
Yeah. Or like television marquee.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
That's better because that one actually like goes a little hard.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's solid throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Good. I like that.
All right, so next one is Colin Sexton. That's a different vibe for sure.
Yeah. Colin Sexton's like I'm trying to think of somebody. It's definitely chaotic.
Yeah, he's super intense.
Yeah. It's almost like it's almost like Steve Vai or something like that, you know, like somebody who's just like playing like solos the whole time. But is like super talented, but like isn't really doing a lot of things like musically that like people can understand. You know, it's almost like late era Coltrane or something.
Okay. Yeah.
You know? Well, I mean, I don't know. That's putting Coltrane down, honestly.
That's true.
Which I don't want to do. Yeah, he's like a mediocre, like he's like a great guitar player on like in a mediocre jam band. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
Like, I don't know.
That's so good. I feel like he's so intense. He's like borderline psychotic.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like he's almost like a Mike Patton.
Yeah.
He's a little all over the place. He's Mike Patton's in like so many projects, but he is a one of a kind character.
But like Mike Patton's diverse, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Mike Patton's done so many like cool things, like in different genres.
True.
And it's like truly an original. Whereas like Sexton, I don't know.
He's a point guard who doesn't really pass.
Yeah. I was gonna say like, I was trying to think of like a rapper that was like kind of just like all about himself all the time, like in a funny way, but I couldn't think of anybody.
Maybe it's like Migos, because they're like pretty monotone when they rap.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. All right. Let's go the next one. Let's go to Mark Price.
Mark Price is like really good Christian rock.
Love it.
like he's like Amy Grant or something. Like I don't really listen to Christian rock, but like when I hear Amy Grant, I'm like, this is a good fucking song.
Right.
You know? Like
it kind of surprises you.
Yeah, or like Shania Twain or something. She's not Christian, but yeah, like Shania Twain's like, it's just like quality music.
I had a similar vibe. He's like a folk singer.
Yeah,
I
totally. I
feel
can
like
see that.
he's like a little bit like a Andrew Bird or like an M
Yeah,
Ward.
yeah, I like that
Like the
for sure.
talent's there.
Oh
Absolutely. You
yeah,
just sometimes you just don't think about it, you know, but it's there. Absolutely.
yeah, and he's kind of underrated.
Yeah, I
You know what I
agree.
mean? Like he was actually really fucking good. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I
Like
think he was like a
he's one of,
four-time All-Star.
yeah, and he was like, he averaged like 9 assists a game.
Mhm.
One of the greatest free throw shooters of all time. First guy really started like pulling up off the dribble from three.
Yeah.
One of the first guys, anyway.
Yeah, I feel like he
Um,
averaged like what, like 19 and 9 or something like that a couple
Something like
years.
that. Yeah,
Not bad.
yeah.
Cool. Next on the list, Anderson Varejao.
It's like some like it's like metal.
Some wacky
Like
stuff.
yeah, it's like Slayer or like Sepultura or like like Slipknot or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like he's very off the wall, very erratic. So have you ever heard of the band Melt Banana?
No,
They're
I haven't
just
heard of them.
super wacky, like guitars all up and down everywhere, like all over the place. It's
Yeah.
super erratic stuff.
He's amazing, man. He's one of my favorite
Oh
players
yeah.
of all time.
Good old Sideshow Bob.
Love that dude. So good.
He's one of those guys, like, you know, it was funny back in the day, especially Bulls and Cavs, like Joakim Noah and Vincent Varejao were
Oh
like
yeah,
bizarro
yeah.
versions of each other.
Yeah. Joakim Noah is still hated by the Cavs fan base, by
Oh
the way.
yeah. I mean, I can understand why.
Yeah.
But that interview is still hilarious to me,
It
though.
is. Yeah, it is funny. I loved Noah. I was always a big fan of his.
He's intense. He is the guy who, like, you hate him unless he's on your team.
Totally. Yeah. Varejao the same way.
Yeah.
Varejao. Noah's dad was cool.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up like watching him play tennis against like
nice.
Bjorn Borg and like McEnroe and those guys and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he was cool. He was
Yeah.
kind of similar vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Last one on the list. I mean, this is going to be tough, but LeBron James. How do you classify LeBron James as a musician? That's a tall order.
I mean, he's kind of like Prince.
One of a kind.
You can just do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, incredibly skilled, incredibly smart,
Mhm.
all about him, like self-centered, but maybe not in a bad way, because it should be all about him because he's so badass.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I would say like I was actually thinking about this. I was thinking about saying Kanye West because like at first I was like, oh, he's like Jay-Z, but I kind of feel like LeBron had enough like marks on his record throughout like his career, enough like dings that it's hard for me to like say he's like equal to Jay-Z.
Okay.
But I don't know, like Prince is kind of like that. When he was at his best, he was like the GOAT. He's the greatest
Totally.
of all time. But he also had like a lot of missteps.
Yeah.
He had a lot of records that are like nobody listens to or whatever.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's tough.
I honestly, I think about Prince's guitar solo on the My Guitar Gently Weeps performance, like once a month.
Oh my God.
It's
I'm
so
like,
good.
I'm a huge Prince fan, man.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's like, it's kind of like the height of where you can go. You
Mhm.
know, when he was hitting on it on all cylinders, I mean, there's nobody that can sing that well and play the guitar that well and dance
Yeah.
and write songs and play the piano. And you know what I mean? Like he could play
Totally.
the drums. Like, dude, he was like the baddest motherfucker that ever lived.
And he was like quiet and loud at the same time.
Yeah. And like
Mystifying.
all the stories about him, like the practical jokes and like he's really good at like ping pong and basketball and all these things, you know. He's just like one of those dudes. He rolls out of the bed every day and he's just like the baddest motherfucker at everything he does. He's like, I'm gonna cook myself some eggs, and they're like the baddest fucking
Yeah.
eggs you've ever had. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's that
Absolutely.
dude. It's funny. My Morning Jacket's tour manager now, this guy 5'1", was Prince's tour manager for a long time.
Oh,
So we've been getting like a lot of like,
exclusive
stories
stories.
on
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. And he's also like the only tour manager that Prince never fired. Like, apparently he's like notorious for firing tour managers, but for some
Yeah.
like, our guy like was able to never be fired by him.
I mean, everything you're saying right now describes LeBron. So
Pretty much.
I mean, LeBron would get his head coaches fired,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was everything he wakes up. He's like the greatest at what he's doing. Like, it sounds like LeBron to me.
Yeah. And if he had a bad show, like it wasn't because of him. It was because like maybe his backing band like
Of course.
wasn't up to the moment. You know what I mean?
I love that.
It was
That's
never
so
his
perfect.
fault.
Yeah. My pick was, this may be controversial, but I am a Bulls fan. So I think if Michael Jordan is the Beatles, I think LeBron's the Rolling Stones. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, I could see that.
it's really your flavor. It's like they were both very impactful at the time, but in my mind, I see the Beatles as like an inch ahead of Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I could see that. I must feel like I was gonna like this just came to me, but like going back to Mobley, you could say Mobley is like the demos for All Things Must Pass with George Harrison.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like
Dude,
it's like
All Things Must Pass. It's my favorite Beatles post album, like post solo
yeah,
album.
it's so fucking good. I mean, all three of those guys made great records.
Yeah,
Post Beatles.
absolutely.
It really is it's kind of amazing thinking about it.
Yeah,
Like that there was a time that they were doing that and all these other legends were also making music at the same time.
all right. And two, when you watch the Beatles thing on Disney Plus,
Mm-hmm.
like I saw something that like, I don't remember what it wasn't. If Not For You, there was a song on All Things Must Pass that like George Harrison like proposed to the Beatles as a Beatles song, and they're like,
Yeah.
nah.
I
But
think it
like,
wasn't it All Things Must Pass?
it
think
might have
was.
been.
It might have been.
But like, just the fact that like now I've seen how they like interacted with George, I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Right. Yeah, George was kind of like the little brother.
Mhm.
So they never let him like give him like equal treatment or something.
Yeah, that was really fun to watch.
Yeah, that whole documentary like turned all my preconceived notions about all those guys kind of
Mhm.
around.
Absolutely.
Because going in, I would have expected John Lennon to be like
The show.
just more like more cantankerous, more like me first or whatever. And
He
ended
was
up
very
being
much like, I'll do whatever.
yeah. And I would have expected Paul to be more kind of uptight and less loose. And I felt like he comes off like way more understanding and
Mhm.
joking around all the time. And even though he was like firing creatively on all
Yeah.
cylinders, he was somehow patient with the process. I don't know.
Structured. He was very structured.
Yeah. And then George, I thought would have been like the Zen master, and he was kind of like the pouty teenager.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, okay. And then Ringo, I would have expected to be like the big goofy guy who was like always like kind of cracking too many jokes and not being focused. And he was the Zen master.
Yeah.
He was just the guy, like just like, tell me when I need to play the drums.
Exactly. Yeah. He was here and he was like, all right, I'm on.
Yeah. So cool.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think we got some good musical comparisons here.
Yep.
This is a fun one. But I think that about does it, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
It's a good time. Good best of luck to your Cavs in the upcoming
Yeah.
season.
Good
Unless
luck to
they're
the
playing
Bulls.
the Bulls.
I think it will be neck and neck.
I think so too. And unfortunately, I think we'll be like closer to the play in.
Yeah, I think the Cavs will be too.
Yeah.
I think we'll be like 500.
I think we'll I hope that we're not battling each other in the play-in.
That might be fun.
Yeah, that's true. But thanks again for coming on, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right.